Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from Fuming Mouth entitled Last Day of Sun. And just a little heads up before we go any further, if you want to learn even more about this particular album from this particular band, may I recommend checking out a little interview I did with Fuming Mouth singer and guitarist Mark Whalen here on the Metal Meltdown a couple of days ago. Preferably, stay here, watch this first, since you're already here, but afterwards, go check that out. That'd be really cool and great and cool and great of you. Please and thank you. Anna, this is the first time you've been here while I've been recording. Is there anything you'd like to say to all of these fine people?
Hello, thank you for watching.
That's it?
I appreciate you.
I expected something a little bit more, powerful and epic and inspiring. It's been so long.
I know, I wasn't prepared. I didn't prepare anything.
Fuck is your problem?
You.
Fuck is your
Fuck you.
problem? Anyways, Last Day of Sun. This is the sophomore studio album from this American death metal crew hailing from Boston, Massachusetts. Some of you may remember their debut, The Grand Descent, having dropped back in 2019. I think I talked about it in some capacity back in the day. I don't know, I'm a little fuzzy on the exact details at the moment. This was kind of the pre-Metal Meltdown, takes itself semi-seriously and actually has some semi-success years. I don't know, that whole area is kind of like a big blob to me. Clearly it must have turned enough heads to grab the attention of Nuclear Blast Records because now they are signed to Nuclear Blast Records, and inspired by this success, Fuming Mouth is going into more expansive, dare I say, progressive territory on this album, not to the extent of being like a progressive death metal crew, but there are plenty of more experimental flavors. This is a more adventurous record, this is a more anguished and painful record. It's also a more cinematic and expansive record, with a concept that deals with, well, the last day of sun, the final moments, the final hours of society, civilization, the existence of mankind itself, and we're witnessing what mankind is doing in these final moments, and it turns out they're not doing anything really that cool or pleasant or great. And it has been further emboldened and spiced by the real-life tragedy and despair of singer-guitarist Mark Whalen, who throughout the course of this album's writing, recording, and production process was battling cancer. More specifically, Mark was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in November of 2021, underwent several rounds of chemotherapy and a bone marrow transplant, and was eventually declared cancer-free in August of 2022. And the end result is a death metal album with a lot more heart than we're used to seeing within this genre. Now, that's not to say that this is a total tearjerker and you're going to need to go grab yourself a box of tissues, maybe a plushy buddy, but it is to say that if you're looking for a more straightforward blast of brutal, in-your-face, non-stop meat and potatoes death metal, maybe this isn't it. What I really like about this album is that it's able to be a more impactful record conceptually and emotionally, while also still being a pretty badass slice of modern death metal with a few unexpected musical twists and turns here and there. You've got a lot of slammin', metallic hardcore and crust punk inspired sections and barrages. You've got that classic HM2 style Swedish metal guitar tone. You have more atmospheric textures and soundscapes. You have clean vocals popping up now and then as well. And you also have plenty of just full-on classic American death metal brutality. Opening number Out of Time kicks things off quite nicely with a nice declarative anthemic blast of groovy, stubborn, hard-hitting, hardcore-infused death metal. It's tight, it's mean, it's blunt, it's straight to the point, very simple, very easy to follow, very fun. You're gonna be pounding your fists, you're gonna be moshing like a maniac. It's got a legitimately pretty great chorus, too. When the band literally roars out, "I am out of time," on top of these muscular, groovy death metal blasts and churning rhythms, I'm inspired to immediately destroy anything and everything in sight. Somewhat similarly, you have Rest in Piss, which is a grimy, crusty, groovy death metal banger. Another great, simple hook that will inspire you to commit unspeakable acts of violence alongside some really great, gnarly guitar work. The super vicious, crusty, galloping grooves that the song launches into after the band shouts out, "Rest in Piss," especially are so cool. They're sinister, they're evil, they're fucked up. Going into more emotional and experimental territory, you have cuts like The Silence Beyond Life and Leaving Euphoria, both of which experiment with moodier, more mid-paced, slow-paced songwriting and clean vocals, with The Silence Beyond Life specifically playing out almost like a really late 90s like post-hardcore cut, but still with a little bit of that like full-on hardcore death metal underbelly, whereas Leaving Euphoria is a more schizophrenic, anguished kind of like post-rock, post-metal burner. Like, it layers all of these sounds and all of these different vocal dynamics into something that sounds like genuinely really eerie. There's a lot of like genuine pain and confusion that's communicated here. It's a weird cut, but I think it works pretty well. The Silence Beyond Life I like, but that main riff is maybe a little bit too simplistic for my liking, and I'm not gonna lie, clean vocals in the chorus are just not that well executed. I'm willing to set that aside, though, because there is so much, like, heart and force that's put into it, though. Like, you can just hear the stress and the strain and the agony in Mark's voice here. Like, you get the vibe that, like, he's about to break down in the studio. We actually do get pretty close to having genuine heart-wrenching moments on this record with cuts like "I'll Find You" and "Kill the Disease" specifically, the former of which deals with somebody doing everything in their power to spend their last moments on Earth with the person they love more than anything else in this world, the latter of which is called "Kill the Disease" and was written by a man battling a horrible disease. I don't think that's going to require much explanation there. They hit just as hard emotionally as they do musically, offering some really ballsy, stripped down, in-your-face death metal brutality. The stark tones and the sharpness of the riffs and the grooves here, and some of those blast beats, I'm reminded of some Bolt Thrower. I'm also reminded of somebody more modern like Frozen Soul or Gatecreeper. The title track, Last Day of Sun, is pretty cool too, with Fuming Mouth going into what I guess you could call their take on Death Doom. It's a much more slow-paced cut with some very menacing, ominous guitar work. I mean, this song just radiates like apocalyptic vibes and impending doom. On the actual Last Day of Sun on this planet, it would not shock me if this motherfucker was playing. There are definitely a couple of rough spots and patches here and there across the album. The aforementioned clean vocals. I also feel like some of the guitar riffs and some of those like slamming sections and some of those hardcore sections can be a little flat, can be a little bit one-dimensional. I would also argue that some of the songs could benefit from a little bit of trimming just here and there. Opening number, Out of Time, for instance, does not need to be 6.5 minutes long. I like that cut, but still, just saying. I would also argue that Disgusterlude is a pretty unnecessary addition to the record. It doesn't really add much in terms of like atmosphere or vibe or drama. It's just kind of this noisy, swelling piece that doesn't really go anywhere. But all in all, I thoroughly enjoy a lot of what's happening on this record. I'm feeling a very enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5 on this bad boy. Fuming Mouth's energy and attitude on this album is entertaining to the point of being almost addictive. Like, there are quite a few tracks that have been in pretty heavy rotation, not just since this thing was officially released to the public, but ever since I got the initial promo like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Everyone in the band is doing a great job, but we gotta shout out Mark specifically. I mean, the circumstances in which this album was written and put together, it's pretty impressive that he was able to crank anything out, but especially anything at this level. Definitely give this a shot if you're looking for something a little bit more fresh from your modern death metal, something with a little bit more heart and soul, something with a little bit of love for like hardcore and more atmospheric ideas and more adventurous songcraft. Once again, solid 3.5 out of 5. I really like it. I think it's a really good record. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Look, aforementioned interview with Mark Whalen. Look, something else. I don't even fucking know. Pick up some merch on Redbubble. Check us out on Discord. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.